right? Good one.
I could see the video. I could see the water.
The
And
water.
oh my.
That was a good one.
Oh, yeah.
Simon Le Bon, come on.
Oh man. And he really was my favorite of between all the, the
They,
Taylors and
I
whatnot
was
in
going
that
to say
band.
though, the girls that I knew in high school were much more into John Taylor than Simon.
I was more a Simon. I was
I mean,
more a
my
Simon.
man is still shaking a tail feather. Let me tell you, they're the four of them are still out touring together. And welcome, good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Special guest host, Robin Schooling. Robin Schooling, everybody.
It's like people log in. It's like logging in to watch Kelly and Mark, and instead of Kelly, you get like Khloe Kardashian with Mark. How did they fit? What's going on? What's happening?
You are no Khloe Kardashian.
Well,
Never say that. Never say that.
I agree.
We first of all, Jackie is, I know she posted yesterday, some of you saw, she has some stuff happening. She is okay. We just talked to her. I won't tell you what she said because I don't really want anybody else to think about it. So we'll just say she is fine. We'll hear more from her in the next week or two. But I played the Duran Duran because did you see the Workday announcement yesterday?
No.
Workday Rising in September just announced that Duran Duran will be performing.
Get out of town.
I'm like, because it's the same time as the HR Tech Conference. They overlap.
Yep.
And I'm like, oh, and somebody was like, just fly from Vegas to San Francisco for the Workday Conference and you come and see Duran Duran. And so here I am yesterday for like 2 hours trying to think about how could I make that work?
How can I adjust my flight and get there?
And I'm speaking at HR Tech, and I'm like, I could do that, and then run, and then go, and then fly back, and nobody will know. And no, I can't.
You have time for my session. I'm good to go.
And if anything is late, if the flight is late at all, I can never make it work. I mean, Duran Duran. Can you imagine?
Wow.
I mean, it's awesome.
When you got too much money to spend,
you said it.
After and in accompaniment with all your acquisitions and or lawsuits, go for it.
You might as well. I mean, I guess they're trying to get rid of some of the liquidity that they have in order to show a better spot for the lawsuits to say that they're not flush with cash. They can't pay out the damages.
We had to recreate Girls on Film at Workday Rising, so
right.
We don't have that. We can't pay.
Don't worry about our AI bias. We're going to destroy gender discrimination by filming Girls on Film anew. There's no problem with that, right? Is there? That's okay, right? We're going to have various female reps from Workday crawl through the jungle and redo Rio. No problem, right? Is that okay? Oh my gosh. We live in a ridiculous world.
Man, I hope Workday's marketing team is listening to this.
I mean,
giving them the ideas.
Great ideas. For the audience I don't know how they couldn't be, but for the audience that's not familiar with you, you are Baton Rouge's queen of human resources. I believe that title is forever yours. There might be a couple that disagree.
There are a good number who have supplanted me with that title.
Yes. Your writing has been the subject of many likes and loves and comments through, I mean, should we say decades? How long has it been?
It is decades. It really is decades now. Yeah.
I mean, you started writing, what year was it?
I guest blogged for people.
Yeah.
Probably circa 2008-ish. And then started the first iteration, hrschoolhouse.com, rest in peace, in 2010, before I morphed it over to robinschooling.com. So
Yep.
online wise, a good amount of time.
It's crazy.
I know.
17 years you've been writing.
And then, of course, as we know, wait, let me find it.
Yes, please. Thank you. And the
And then
queue up happened.
book come out in May.
So wait, hold that up again. Hold
Oh,
that
wait.
up
That's actually
again. Too
that's
fast.
actually one of the proofs over here. That's why it's got this weird line.
Oh, but that's what you all need to go online and order
That's right.
Real HR by Robin Schooling.
That's right.
Pick your copy up. It's fantastic. And for those, I mean, the best part about the book, though, honestly, is you can, if you know Robin, you can hear her saying the words that are on the page. That's my favorite part. It's
And
like,
I've had several people tell me that, so that is probably the greatest compliment.
I mean, it's the truth though. Like, I'm like, oh yeah. I could. It's like you were sitting next to me, reading it aloud to me. I hear her voice the whole time. It's awesome. So please pick up your copy today.
Oh, look at the little QR code we got there from our technical support
Jamie
producer.
Well done. Oh, look at that. Scan that QR and pick that up today. We are talking about mentorship. And so one of the things that I'm curious about, some of it, I think people will need to know our backgrounds, like in terms of industries, because I think it actually makes a difference for this one. What has mentorship been like programmatically, if at all, in roles that you've had? Has it been a formal program?
I have never, ever worked for an organization where there has been a formalized internal mentorship program. And that is, now you can understand that when it's, because I've worked for my share of, less than 500 employee organizations. You get that then, a couple hundred employees, about the last thing you're going to put internal resources towards. But I've also worked for 30,000 employee global organizations and 5,000 employee higher education entity, and nothing formal at the places where I would have thought we would have had something. So yeah, my experience with mentorship, as we talk about it, and I think yours, I don't know, but I'm thinking yours is probably similar, has been very it's been informal, but there.
And that's where I think I think it's, first of all, that, right? Like we both have that sort of scrappy company kind of HR background with a lot of organizations. In many instances, you and I separately, right, coming into the organizations we were working for, we were the most formalized anything.
Yes.
Right? Like, but the informal mentorship is a really interesting take on this, because I have worked for one organization where we had something formalized in place, right? And that typically is larger, right? Enterprise level. But I will tell you, it just felt so cold to me. It was like you're going to be matched up
assigned to, that's how I would envision it.
And it's like you're going to get to meet with, Jim you don't know at all. And Jim is going to, we're cross-departmental. So Jim is going to speak to you about mentoring you to be ready for the next opportunity in the organization, right? To build up your leadership capability. But Jim has zero context. Jim in, I don't know, marketing is talking to, Sally in IT and trying to help Sally get ready to position herself for advancement in IT. Jim has no idea about any of it. And he's like, well, let me tell you how I got here. Let me just tell you the stories of what I've done. And that's like the first two sessions.
Yes.
And then we had curriculum. And so I don't know if anybody else has been through those kinds of mentorship programs where there is a curriculum, right? These are the topics and some of the questions to use to work with your mentee.
Sounds like junior achievement.
I mean, honestly, it was. And it was like, and then it depended on who the mentor was. Like some of them were very laid back, and some of them were like gave homework
Wow.
and read this book, and when we get back together you're going to talk to me about this, that, and the other. And I'm not saying it was bad in terms of telling people to read a book or something,
Right,
but
right.
it depended on who you had. Like the experience was so disparate, even if you followed the curriculum. And then 6 months it was like, okay, thanks so much for getting together once a month, take care, best of luck to you. And Jim and Sally never interacted
No,
again.
no, never even crossed paths at the company picnic at the zoo.
Right. I mean, at the holiday party, it's like, hey, and that was it.
Yeah.
They don't have a reason
Yep.
to see each other.
Yeah.
I don't know if
Hmm.
mentorship that formalized works as well as we think it does.
Yeah.
I mean,
I think that I mean, I give kudos to the organizations that do that in terms of saying we know this is important and there are
yeah,
elements within this type of relationship that will be valuable to both mentor and mentee.
yeah,
Um, so they're partway there, right? There's pieces of that interchange and that knowledge sharing and all of that is good, and but that's not the way to necessarily, I don't think, do it or impart that wisdom or develop somebody. In that it's so, your description of it is kind of how I envision it. It's just very false. It's so
yes, yes.
false.
And do you like when you did it informally? Was it sort of like happenstance, or was it intentional? Informal.
It was a happenstance meeting. I'm thinking of one in particular. It was a happenstance meeting that turned into actually something really, really long term. Um, and this is so, I think this is how a lot of this happens though. And this is why, um, as I think anybody can attest, I am, no longer the biggest, most involved person with our professional organization,
Yes.
on the national level. But, locally, I was obviously very, very involved with my SHRM chapter for many, many years. And when I don't even know if I was president, I might have just been on the board. I don't remember. But we had some sort of when we used to do things like this, we had like this cocktail hour sort of a thing.
Mm-hmm.
And, I'm always up for the cocktail hour, right? So I'm at the cocktail hour thing. And there were a bunch of student members from LSU that came, because, they were up for A, it was free, and
Yeah.
B, you know, they were very,
And there were
eager
drinks.
to interact with anybody as well, right? And so I met a student. She was still a student, um, at LSU at the time, and we hit it off over cocktails. And she said, "Well, can I follow up with you?" And I said, "Absolutely. We can connect it on LinkedIn, the whole shebang." And she followed up with me, and we went to lunch. She initiated it. I mean, she was,
Awesome.
we went to lunch, and she said, she did the ask of, I would like,
Nice.
I respect you, so much, and I've seen you speak at different things and at SHRM things and whatever. And I'm getting ready to graduate, and I would like you to mentor me as I move into this next step. And she was kind of specific of what she thought that might look like,
That's awesome.
periodically, if I
Mhm.
could meet with you, or if I've got a question, if you could look at my resume, things like that. And so we said, great. I was like so flattered.
Yeah.
And I said, absolutely, great. And so we started that relationship, and we talked on the phone. We'd go to lunch periodically. I looked at her resume, kind of helped her sort of navigate as she got into her first job. Fast forward, I don't know how long it was. She got her master's, maybe about, I don't know, must have been maybe about 5 years later. We had always stayed in touch. She was looking for a job, and I had a job. And guess who came to work on my team?
And guess who came? Right.
Yeah.
Now, that's a great story.
Yeah.
Because to me, I like mentees, pre-mentees that ask.
Yes. I mean, and because I never, and
Yeah.
she was an older student. She was not 21 at the
Right.
time. She
Right.
was non-traditional. She was at the time probably late. I mean, she was still young, I think, right? She was less than 30. She was at that time, she was probably late 20s. So she was a little more, she had been working and things like that,
Yeah.
right? So,
Yeah.
but still, I never would have had the gumption, I don't
Right.
think.
And I
Um,
think that it's okay to like,
oh, I loved it.
I
I
think
was,
it's fantastic. Now, I
yep,
get the general sort of like, because just what you said, I never would have had the gumption to say, hey, will you mentor me? But when I was, let's let's try to go back into the recesses of my brain. When I was 24, I think 24, maybe 23, but 24 for sure. Um, there was a senior manager that um, I thought was pretty terrific. And I said to him, do you mind if we get together sometimes? Because I want to pick your brain or ask you questions, that sort of
mhm,
thing. No, neither one of us ever used the term mentor or mentee,
right,
like, right?
right,
We didn't label it that way, but I was um, just drawn to the fact that he was like, had kind of the rapport that he had with people. And I
yep, yep,
wanted to figure out how he developed that, because obviously, specifically in HR, like that's part of our job. And
yes,
so
yes,
when things are terrific, when things are terrible, I think if you have that right rapport development, it certainly helps with like, look, you kind of know me.
yeah,
So it's not like, Johnny Punitive HR, here he comes to write me up, but I want to have a conversation with you. And I felt like he did that pretty well. And by the way, he was not a senior manager in HR. He was a senior manager divisionally.
mhm,
And so
mhm,
I just went and asked him, and he
mhm,
was like, can I get back to you? And later we did start to get together, and it was super casual, like grab lunch, that kind of
right,
thing.
right,
But he said to me, he said, when you asked me, I apologize. And I was like, oh, okay. He said, I just thought it was very weird that you asked me that.
hmm,
And I said, oh, and I said, I didn't mean anything. He's like, no, 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 no. I don't mean that. Like, you made me feel awkward or whatever. He's like, it just was weird to me that you would like specifically, I've never had anybody specifically ask me
yeah,
to get together. And he
yeah,
said, and I didn't, I don't think, he said, I don't think I responded well because it was odd to
yeah,
me.
yeah,
He's like, but I thought about it, and he talked to his wife, he said, and he was like, why do I feel odd? Like, what a compliment.
yep,
And
yep,
and instead I just was like, I'll get back to you. And and he said to me, I am sorry that it was like a week later. And he's like, but I'd love to. And I just didn't know how to receive it. And I think that's real as well. Like you were
yep,
saying, it was like flattering and, oh my
yep.
gosh, somebody wants to do this.
And you know what? Think about that though. Think about if you the collective if we normalized that ask,
Yeah.
right? And it became just sort of a regular thing to do in organizations where, and as an organization, instead of saying, oh, we have this formal program and you can sign up to be in it and whatever, sign up to be a mentor,
Yes.
whatever. If you had the sort of culture, and you talked about it very openly, and you said to all employees, we want you to learn from each other, and we want you to develop, um, habits or live our values or however you want to phrase it, right?
Yeah.
And so identify who, so feel free to identify leaders in the organization that exhibit the things you want to grow in. And if you're interested in having that kind of a relationship, ask them. And then you're preparing the managers to emulate, if they want to be involved in something like that, right? They demonstrate and they emulate, these leadership capabilities, whatever. And you make that just normal. And then for employees as well, it's okay to
Yeah.
identify somebody and ask
Yes.
them. Now, the people being people and the world being the way it is, Janet would get 50 asks and, poor Sarah's going to get none. But
Right. Well, yeah. Well, Sarah is a problem.
Sarah
That,
is.
were you, when you look back on your career, were you mentored by anybody?
No, I not even in the sense that we're talking about here, in this
Yeah.
informal way. I really wasn't. The people that I looked to and learned and would have considered a mentor were actually a couple of the managers I had that I really saw as doing kind of double duty with that. My second HR job, HR proper job. My first HR proper job was a bank. I was 5 years at the bank. And then I went to a nonprofit agency. So talk about night and day, right? And so I reported to the executive director at the nonprofit agency. And she still remains, she was one of my favorite managers ever.
Awesome.
And she was a mentor. She really imparted in me the way to think about people as people. And she was not an HR person. She was a former nun, actually. Sister Rosemary, although she had given up left the nunhood about 5 years before I started working.
Listen, if that's not a book waiting to be written, Robin Schooling mentored by a nun, there is no.
And I had 2 nuns on my team as well that reported to me. So, oh yeah, I'm telling you.
You could have almost been Sister Robin. That would have been quite something.
But she was
oh my God.
She really was that role to me. I mean, so because she was a good boss and a good leader, a good organizational leader, and a good leader of my, it was a nonprofit, so I had 55 departments, practically reporting to me.
Yes.
And she was really good at kind of helping me manage. It was also my first job leading people and a function as well. I mean, that job was the first of many things. But the mentorship part came, I think, in that she gave me guidance in how to react to things. Sometimes I wish I could go back to some of the things she taught me, because I think I veered off course a little bit. But she was really, from that aspect, she taught me how to, I don't know, how to make decisions, how to think things through, how to look at the bigger picture. I mean, it was things that I think a mentor does sometimes more than an official boss, right?
It's funny because one of the things that I kept thinking about, and by the way, good morning to our millions of fans. Yes, John, I saw you just jump by. Yes, this Robin Schooling is not Jackie Clayton, in case there's any confusion. You both look, so similar. I can appreciate that people would get confused, but Jackie will be back. The one thing about mentors that I thought about too is I think sometimes, now this is a funny thing, right, from an HR standpoint, I think it's kind of ageist sometimes, that
Mm.
were like the mentor has to be like is the older person.
Old and wise. Yeah.
Yes. And then the mentee is like the younger, newer to the industry
Yep.
kind of person. And I'm not saying I don't understand that, but that tends to be sort of like the default. But I got to tell you, I've been mentored by people in various things that are from different generations that
Yes.
are younger than I am, that because their skill sets are different or better in some things than mine, and I've sat with them
Mm-hmm.
and learn from them. It's
Mm-hmm.
it's funny when I even from again, because we've been writing for what feels like 100 years, but I look at some of the current content producers in writing and other kinds of production, but I'm like, gosh, that's great content, and how did that person get to that place? And so I've talked to people who are in our industry who are 10, 20, 25 years younger than we are. I'm not going to say more. That's 25 is as much as I'll go. And said, can I talk to you? Can you tell me a little bit about how you discovered X, like whatever it is that they were talking about? And I'm like,
Yep.
that's really fascinating. How did that come to be? And I'm taking sort of from them like an approach to how they're viewing certain circumstances or how they assimilate information in their
Yeah.
brain. Like, so, and I'm like, because I need to look at some things that way. And there's a mentoring moment or two or five that can occur there, and they don't fit that sort of traditional mold of older mentor, younger
Uh-huh.
mentee, right? Like I
Uh-huh.
think we
Uh-huh.
slip into that a lot, and we shouldn't.
Uh-huh.
I mean, we have
Well,
young people on our staff at
yeah.
Humoriso.
Yeah. And I think it gets back to that, it's taking that pause and realizing that um yeah, learning can come from anywhere. Advice that is applicable or meaningful or profound or helpful or whatever can come from anyone.
Yeah.
um and so it loops us right back to, it doesn't need to be a formal relationship to have that element of mentorship. um where can you, it's almost like micro moments of being mentored.
Yeah. Like I think, and it kind of works hand in hand with our limited attention span. Like everything is always about uh, we moved from like hour long webinars to 30-minute web chats. Now like a 1 minute to 3 minute TikTok video. Like
Right,
we
right,
keep shrinking the
right.
time. So it makes sense to kind of actually this micro mentoring, right? So
Yeah.
I think about, so here's some great examples that come to mind, and I'm curious to know if you can think of one or two of them because I've got a bunch in my head. Like on the lawn at RecFest, in the middle of the exhibit hall at HR Tech or
Hmm.
Unleash or Transform or Sure Manual, or I don't know, pick your conference, right?
Hmm.
Work Human. Um, uh, Getting ready to go and speak at a Disrupt or speaking of talent net, or I don't know, whatever, wherever
Yep.
you might be, like just these like informal, brief
Yes.
conversations. Like I can think of a few during those various things that I mentioned where it's like it was so unexpected, the
Uh-huh.
the knowledge that
Uh-huh.
was imparted on the floor in front of UKG's booth
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
Orlando or in Vegas or
Yeah.
wherever we were.
Yeah.
I could
Well,
envision it.
yes. There are, I can look back on all these years of, yes, wandering, going from this conversational circle to that conversational circle at a on the expo hall floor,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
But there are, I can look back and remember being in a little conversational hub with a couple of people and somebody saying something just in the course of a conversation that was so profound that it like struck me at the moment. And I still will do this, and I'll walk away and I'll be like, I need to remember that. And I'll type a little note on my notepad, you know,
I was going to say,
Craig said X. Oh my God, I
yes,
want to remember that he said that. And
it's just harder now.
it's harder now, but I like those little moments to, and I try to hold on to those nuggets because sometimes they're ephemeral and they go floating off in the air, and I'm
Yes.
like,
Yep.
that really stuck with me, and so I'll jot things down. I
just
mean,
think it's harder now because I can't walk and type anymore. I don't know about
oh well,
anybody
no,
else.
I have to stop and pause
I
and
have to
put my
stop.
glasses up and
I'm like,
adjust them and get my fingers warmed up or whatnot.
but it's the truth that now, if you see Rob and I on the expo floor and we're stopped, it's because we can't. I got to write this down before I walk to the next booth. I used to be able to like talk to somebody, type the
Pipe
thing.
and
I
walk
mean,
with a drink in your hand and
with
another
the
hand at
drink
the
in
same
your
time.
hand, exactly. Now
Yeah.
it's like everybody. Hold on, I got to put my bag down. Let me. It's awful. It is awful. But you are right in terms of like capturing the nugget at the moment.
And I mean, because your thing now this summer has been because you did it at Sherm and now you did it at HR Florida
Mm-hmm.
this week, is the doing the quick little AMAs
Yes.
at some
Yeah.
booths.
Yeah.
And so I think that's that same concept,
Yep.
really. I mean, yes, the goal is people are maybe have a specific question and they're going to come up and say, hey, what's your thought on how to
Yeah.
best apply the Fair Labor Standards Act in this situation. I mean, it could be
Yep.
something like that.
Yep.
Or it could be an open-ended, what are your thoughts on XYZ? And there too, it's nothing like putting you on the spot to come up with a nugget that they want to write down. But
And it's funny that you're saying that because I found now this is part of like getting to know me like continually. Um, I do well on the fly. If I
yes, you do very well. Yeah.
overthink, I'm my worst enemy if I have the time to overthink. I like just get into my head too much.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I typically do better on the fly. So these ask me anythings. And we like Robin said, I just got back from HR Florida yesterday. And we didn't even get to talk about this. So this particular one, I started at People Insight by Higher Road, and so started at that booth and doing some questions there. People came up to ask, and by the way, when it's ask me anything, Lord, anything. I mean, relationships, parenting. Like people are asking me all kinds of stuff. I've never been here before. Which park should I go to? Like those kinds of things. It was like really funny, but I love that because it reminds me on the HR side of things, I want people to feel like that you're approachable. Like
Yes.
ask, right?
Yes.
Whatever you don't have to just ask me about, I don't understand the deductible. Can you explain to me my health insurance?
Yep.
Blah blah. And that's fine. But the fact that people are like, hey, I want to pick your brain because you probably know I want to go to a really nice restaurant tonight. What's around here? Like I love that because it's human.
Yes.
But this time too, I did it at the booth, and then Evan was with me, Evan White, and so Evan gave me the microphone to go be man on the street. And so we started walking up and down the aisles. He had the camera, and I'm walking up and down. It was hilarious. The things that people were like, oh yeah, do you have a like, and even some of the vendors calling me over to their booth and folks behind the table saying, I have a question. I'd love your answer to. And of course, some of it was self-serving, right? It was about whatever product or wares that
Yep.
they
Yep.
were selling,
Yep.
but they were like, what do you think about financial wellness? What's the best way to start to get people to think about financial wellness? And these are folks that are selling, financial
Yep.
wellness
Yep. Yep.
platform. and I just off the cuff. There was nothing prepped. I'm just off the cuff to say this is all just based on my experience. Most people don't want to talk about financial wellness because it's super personal. You'll see that I don't have much money. You'll see that I'm living paycheck to paycheck. You'll see that I overspend. You'll see that I, whatever it is, fill in the blank. And I said, and if you're not willing to, own it, get in the muck with them to say, don't worry about the fact that you're paying the bare minimum on your credit card at 28% interest and you're so embarrassed that you're this stuck.
Mm-hmm.
That's why we want to
Mm-hmm.
talk to you about wellness. How do we help you incrementally? You're not going to solve it tomorrow, but how do you incrementally start to get healthier instead of just living like you have been for the past 3 years at, $35 a month minimum payment, like that? You're never going to get out of that.
Yeah.
And I think that this idea of just kind of being real is something that is very appealing to people. And I'm telling you, people, like, this is why real HR, right? We were talking about before.
Yep.
This idea of being approachable is an underappreciated component that I think some folks can mentor others in. It
Yes.
doesn't have to just be,
Yes.
I'm going to mentor you in, right, how to run an open enrollment. I mean, come on, that's
Yeah.
training. It's not really mentoring. Stop.
Yep.
Right. But I just think there's so much of that people really want to hear.
Yeah. Yeah. And one of the presentations that I've built out, based on the book, and I'm doing at a couple of places coming up, is
Yes.
kind of built on that. It's about, because we all have to come up with a catchy name for our sessions, right?
Oh
So,
my
but
gosh. Yeah.
this is coming out of the book, and it's human-centered HR, and it gets right to that point
Yep.
of where's that realness. And I think it gets back, right, bringing it full circle, right back to what we're talking about with mentorship and using that as development stuff. But I
Yep.
think for HR people, it is about being being clear about your approach. And so I think it's about, if I'm in HR and I want to lead others, and I say lead, that can be I'm a leader, that can be I'm Susie HR rep with
Yep.
my sphere of responsibility. I can't, in order to lead others through complexity, I have to confront my own, right? And live my
Yeah.
own. And so part of learning how to do that effectively in HR is where tag teaming with somebody or observing somebody else comes into play, right? Because I need to learn. You learn it on the job. You learn by observing others. You learn by having a quote, good, boss in HR, whatever. But I need to learn nuance. I need to learn how to make judgment calls.
Yeah.
I need to understand my own ethics,
Yes.
and what I stand for, what my values are, how I want to operate. And so it's kind of getting that clarity around that, and being okay with being upfront.
And I think, bringing that up, it's really interesting because it's cost some people uh, career development, career opportunities, even though their career has been developed, they are not given an opportunity somewhere
Yes.
because they have. You talked about values, for instance, right? So you may, and we live in a really hot time right now for people to have sort of divisive perspectives on
Yes.
things. And so there may be an organization that you would love to do what you know how to do for, who may take a look at where you stand on some things and how you've been sort of developed, and those that you've sought out for mentoring, as an example,
Uh-huh.
who align with your values. And that organization may say, not here,
Yeah.
not here.
Yeah.
And so how do we help people to sort of be honest that the opportunities, and this is not meant to be sort of flippant, but the opportunities will come. You don't have to compromise who you are.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and how do I stand for something
Mm-hmm.
and still be seen as a viable participant in business, as an
Mm-hmm.
example? Because human resources is part of the business,
Mm-hmm.
right? So how do I
Mm-hmm.
do that? If you don't know how to do that, that's a great reason to get a mentor,
Right.
someone who's
Right.
traveled this road.
Right. And navigating that complexity of here's what I believe, here's what I stand for, here's whatever.
Yep. Yep.
Versus here's seeing this tension between my personal beliefs, values, how I want to operate, how I want to live life, what I believe in, and then okay, here's Acme Corporation that I'm working in, and there's this tension because there's misalignment there.
Yep.
That is probably, I mean, and you could pick a profession and it's probably true, but I don't know. I just see it so deeply in HR and from
Oh, yeah.
HR people where that tension between those two things is the biggest, just this huge cause of
Yep.
burnout.
Yep.
And part of that is because I as a human being, I strongly believe in these ways of operating, or I have these beliefs, or I think this is how people should be treated, or this is, sort of these core things that I think need to underpin how a business is run, whatever it is.
Yep.
And Acme Corporation is never going to do those things.
Right.
So why am I in there fighting that? And so there's a part where you speak up as you
Yep.
can. You work to influence what you can, and you may find that you can incrementally influence and change some things, and or if you can't change the big picture, you're making the daily work experience better for everybody else that's in there with you, right? And so you may get satisfaction from that. There may also come the day where, and again, you have to learn how to navigate that, or you need a mentor to kind of help you navigate it.
Right.
How do you make that
Right.
change?
Right.
And how do you find the nuance in those things? But then there may also come a day where, you know what, this is just, I'm going to burn out. I have burned out, right? Or I can't sit here anymore in this organization because there's such misalignment. And that's when you start making decisions of, where you need to go. And I think, and it's going back to, again, being very self-aware and having mapped out for yourself, um, what your values are, what you stand for, how you want to change the world, how you want to operate day to day, and you just kind of use that as your north star, and you keep focused on that. And if things go too off track,
Yep. Yeah.
that may be a sign.
Well, and I think like all of that, yes, because this is part of I think, learning. What I've seen some individuals do, and let's talk about HR for a second, right? What I've seen some people do is get frustrated with the organization where they're working because it's out of alignment with what they believe in or feel, and leave the organization and decide, I know, let me do the air quotes for I know, that that so many companies are like this. And so I'm going to
Mhm.
open up my own
Mm.
consulting thing
Yes.
so that I can go and help companies be more whatever it is, whatever that
Yeah.
value is that you think is
Yep.
missing. The problem with that, unfortunately, for many is, there is an assumption there that you know what's happening in all kinds of companies. You don't.
Yeah.
And so when your premise is a bit flawed without doing some of the research, or, kind of understanding, is it industry specific? Is it geography specific? What should I know if I'm going to try to do my own thing? It may pop up and fizzle
Yeah.
super quickly. And then the other side of it is too, I think some people don't realize that I can operate within I can operate within my values. It may be that I just have too much of an expectation of the company to
Mm-hmm.
be as affirming to all of my values to the level that I want them to be. So
Mm-hmm.
for instance, an organization will say we have a value of integrity. I may personally have a definition of what integrity is. This is what integrity looks like for me. The company isn't a person.
Mm-hmm.
And so it can't do
Mm-hmm.
all the same things about integrity that you may do as a person. But because we think the company should, it's got to do this, it's got to do that, it's got to do this, and the company just can't. It
Right.
isn't built for that. We perceive that as they don't have the same values as I do. This is
Mm-hmm.
where like the mentoring has been helpful, I think, through the years, where you've got folks that have traveled this road saying to others, hold on, let's look at it from the glass being half empty for a second. How is the organization not operating in integrity? Don't give me what they should be doing.
Mm-hmm.
Just tell me right now, what do you see that is giving you a vision of not integrity? Because that's what's causing burnout, right? Like I'm
Mm-hmm.
so angry or frustrated because it's not doing what I need
Mm-hmm.
to. That's really helpful. I think if somebody can help mentor that perspective,
Mm-hmm.
it would save people some heartache, because then you quit that job, you consult, let's say in that scenario I gave, 6 months later, you're like, crap, nobody's kind of resonating with this, or not enough for me to make a living. I got to go back in house. And now my litmus test to
Yes.
go back in house is this one issue that caused me to leave the other place. We can't
Yes.
be about the one issue,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. And I think that gets at it takes us full circle back to the first type of mentorship program we talked about, which is
Yeah.
the formalized one in an organization. The best value I can see coming out of that sort of program, a formalized one, is that it does give participants, mentees, the ability to get exposure to, specifically within an organization, how decisions are made in other areas. So that if I work in research and development and don't understand why my product I've been working on is not going out to market, and I'm mad,
Yeah.
you know
Right. Right.
I'm wasting my time here, whatever, but I'm in this mentorship program, and maybe I'm then being mentored by somebody in finance or whatever, right?
Yeah.
And so maybe I'm going to finally get a little better understanding of how the decisions are made to take things to the market or whatever.
Yes. Yeah.
So the value comes in those formal mentorship programs from that sort of, again, cross-functional knowledge and learning and understanding. And highlights, again, I can best speak of HR because that's my, where I've tap danced all these years. Um, but it is a key. We talk about that all the time in HR. Get to know your organization, blah blah blah. You need to know, obviously. I mean, it should by now go without saying, right?
Yes.
Understand how your business is making money,
Yes.
what have you. Um, but in HR we need to take that a step further as well, and it's understand how your business is making money and operating, and you can look at the P&L or a balance sheet and say, yep, get it, but take that down a level, a notch or two, and understand beyond the surface of let me write a job description.
Yeah. Yeah.
Take it down, and your in-house HR, really get in there and understand, how are people filling their time, how are people, don't just look at, did they meet their goals, and is their job description accurate. Yeah, that's the start
Yes.
to fully become immersed into the people operations and embed HR in the organization. You need to understand how people are working and what they're doing and what and that cross functional piece of it again. And that's if that's one thing I still see HR folks not doing particularly well.
Correct. A-
Um,
And part of that is I think they're afraid. Don't you think that?
yes, yes,
I,
yes.
I just think that, HR people sometimes.
But it also gets to the asking and
Yes.
and just saying, look, this is important and I need to do this. I mean, I remember when I was new, for back again, my first HR in-house HR job. I worked for a staffing agency in the staffing agency, but then went in-house HR at the bank. And I needed to learn what the heck was going on. And so I asked fairly early on. I was there probably about a year, and then I moved into the recruiting role there. And I said, "Well, I want to go and immerse myself in these departments. I don't want to. Yeah, I've been here a year. I kind of understand. I
Right.
kind of get it." I said, "But if I'm going to be recruiting for now,
So
18
good.
branches and,
Yep.
25 support departments, whatever we had, and I was the recruiter." Um, I said to my boss, "I need to go spend some time in each of them."
Yes.
And so then he's like, "Ooh, that's an interesting idea." And I said, "Well, I need to do
That
it."
sounds like somebody from the bank.
And so I called all of these department heads, consumer loans and the mortgage loan guy and whatever, and I said, "I want to come and sit with your people. Who can I come and sit with? I want to come sit with one of the underwriters for a couple hours.
Oh my
I want to
gosh,
go
what
sit
a
with,
job that is.
the consumer loan rep as she's, processing right?" And so I kind of did that, and I went and I sat, and I want to go sit with the ladies, because it was all ladies in the checking account department that did all literally manual stuff with checks. But I went and I spent time, and they were like, what are you doing here? Nobody from
Mhm.
HR has ever come and done this." I said,
Right,
"Well, I want
right.
to know what you're doing,
Yes,
because you don't have any openings in your department right now, but you will. And I want to
100%.
and then I want to understand how everything interconnects more than just the surface. I want to see what you're doing, how it and I did that then at not just there, I did that at multiple other jobs. When I went to the nonprofit, one of the first things I want to go on ride-alongs. We did home social workers that did home visiting
Yeah,
of um, families in desperate need, right? And I said I want to go along on some home visits. I need to understand what we do, and you can't get it if you don't
if you
really
don't go, and I
right,
think that you ask the question to say, "Can I?" Like,
right.
start to go into these departments and learn what they do. I think so many times, um, um, the mentoring door that opens is totally about asking questions.
Yes,
Like, it's simply that, and I think that if you were like, if I were to say to an organization that is like, we've got to figure out how to better manage the knowledge that we have within our four walls, so to speak, before people leave
right.
or get hit by the bus, the proverbial bus thing and all. I just say, like, just have people ask good questions. This whole idea of sort of shadowing, like you were talking
Mhm.
about going into departments, by doing something like that, through the course of the day, you had a dozen questions, I'm sure, that you
Oh,
asked,
yeah. Yep.
right? To understand better. That's really ultimately what mentoring then is about, right? Is that
Right, right.
there may be something that's beyond process, right? The way that perhaps you were picking up on some process details. Maybe it's about performance related details, or again, career mapping kind of considerations as I develop my opportunities, you're still asking questions. What
Right.
was it like for you? What
Right.
do you wish you knew then that you know now? What, like those kinds of things that people were like, oh my gosh, I wish they're going to tell you because it's
Yep.
personal, right? This, to me, it's so funny because I think that one of the things sometimes in HR that we do is over-programmatize things. Like we love
Hmm.
to make things
Oh,
into,
we sure do.
and I can't
It's
stand
either a program or an initiative, and then
it.
we got to give it a name. Yep.
Name the initiative. It's ridiculous. And then it becomes like a thing. And it's like,
Yes.
gosh, just how about you do this? You save yourself a headache. Give Mary $50 to go and take Jimmy and Michael, and the three of them go have lunch together, and Mary
Hmm.
shares with Jimmy and Michael her wisdom
Hmm.
over lunch. And
Hmm.
these two folks come back to the workplace
Hmm.
knowing a little bit more, feeling heard a little bit more,
Hmm.
being invested in a little bit more. And we didn't have to create a program
Right.
for it.
Right.
Like,
Right.
simple, simple. It's crazy to me that we can't still figure this out for some organization.
Hmm.
And then we get mad because we're like, we spent all these hours doing this mentoring thing. And then Jimmy, after the 6 months of being mentored, took a job somewhere else 2 months later. Well, why do you think Jimmy did that?
Now, I will say, in the defense of our beloved profession, that I think a lot of
Somebody write this down. Go
this,
ahead.
a lot of this stuff became programized because we were once upon a time trying to overcome the biases and the exclusionary activities that were happening.
Fair. Yep.
Because
Fair.
Carl took Bob and Jimmy out to lunch, and
Right.
and all the women and
That's
or people of
correct.
color were sitting over here,
That's true.
right?
Yes.
You know,
Yes.
so
Yep.
I
Yep.
think with good intentions back in
Yep.
the day, folks went in to say, okay, we're going to put some parameters around this and make sure that it truly is equal opportunity for everybody type of thing.
Fair. Historically fair.
Yeah.
I'm glad you said that. That is true. But if you've never done anything before, Lord, just take someone to lunch.
Yeah.
Just go to the break room. If you're an in-person organization,
Yeah.
just go to the break
I,
room and
I
grab a
love the
coffee.
break room.
My gosh, so much fun in that break room that just doesn't happen anymore. So many conversations, so many wet your pants moments, like just in the natural sort of like happenstance of existence.
Yep.
I mean, I remember once this guy, he had this, he took over like two microwaves to try to get his whole meal together and had everything and drizzling everything on it.
Oh
It was like
my.
such a thing. And we're all like, Are you done? Like, we need to use these microwaves,
12
right?
people are lined up
Uh,
behind you.
and carries it and goes to sit down. This dude trips over his own feet. I'm telling you, I couldn't breathe for like good 10 minutes. I was laughing so hard. He cursed. He must have said every word ever created. Cursed that sandwich to no end. And it was all over the floor. And he had just put all this like sauce and else. It was everywhere. I could not help him. I couldn't even give him a napkin. I was wetting my pants laughing so hard. And he was cursing at me and other people who were wet. It was so funny. See, that's what we need to get back to. Break rooms,
That's
inappropriate all
right.
over the place. You are a trooper. Thank you so much for hanging this
Yes,
hour.
and I'm glad I could join you. And look at that. There
We
we
need
go.
to, everybody, please be sure to scan and pick up your copy of Real HR. Thank you, Robin Schooling, for co-hosting with me
Thank
today.
you, and we send our love to our Jackie out in the
Yes, out
atmosphere
in
here.
representing the great state of Texas.
That's right.
We will have Jackie will be back with us, but in the meantime, thank you again. Everybody, enjoy your holiday weekend. Enjoy your Labor Day, and we will see you next week. Take care, everybody. Bye.
Bye.